Okay, get in. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Michelle,
Michaela, Caroline,
and we are Americans that live
in the UK.
In the UK. So about a month ago, I did a video about us moving to the UK, but I kind of did the American side of it. In this video, I want to talk about the UK side of it. If you watched my last video, I'll put a link down below. You'll kind of understand what I'm saying. We're Americans, we've packed up our American home, and we are now moving across the pond. So once we kind of got here, what was kind of your initial thought?
Cold and rainy.
Yeah, guys, it's not a lie. Like I told you in the first video, we didn't research a whole lot about the UK. We didn't really have time. We had about a 4-week notice. So it was pretty much just threw us into the UK. I had heard something about the weather being crappy. There's some states that the weather's crappy. I honestly thought, oh, people over-exaggerate. When we get there, it's gonna be awesome. So when we got here, it was kind of rainy, kind of gloomy. We just got off of a 12-hour flight. Me and Dad were pretty exhausted because you're wrestling 3 kids that has just left everything that they know. And we had just told my mom bye at the airport. We told all of our family bye. So it was pretty emotional on that side. So when we get here, we're pretty exhausted because being emotionally exhausted can be draining. I really didn't sleep on the plane.
I passed out on the plane.
I know, she does. But me, guys, I've traveled to 18 plus countries, somewhere in there we're undecided. We'd have to go through and count. Anyways, we've traveled, but I still get a little nervous when I fly. So it was a little nerve-wracking for me the whole time I'm crossing the pond. I'm thinking, please don't be the time our plane would go down. That's a lot of water under us.
If it goes down, then I'll be asleep, so I wouldn't know.
See, they have a different outlook.
That's how I think about it. Like, if you would know once you start spinning, and then all the commotion, you would wake up. There's no way you're sleeping through all that.
Yeah, sleep a whole lot on this flight. So when we did get here, our taxi was there to pick us up. And I do remember sleeping a lot, so I don't really remember a lot on the ride home. I do remember him saying something like, he was trying to tell us how to drive and what side of the road we should be on. And I remember him saying, all the Americans are sleeping in the back. So that was fine, we did. I kind of looked around and I thought, oh, it is gloomy here. And my initial thing was I thought it looked old. UK doesn't really build anything new, or not a lot of things new. They just repair, yeah, the old things, and that's great. It's just that was my initial thought. I thought, oh, it's gloomy and it looks a little old, but now I'm going to still go to sleep and we'll talk about it in the morning. Finally get to our location, which is it's about 2 hours outside of, no, about 3 hours outside of London.
Yeah.
So it was about a 3-hour taxi ride home. And we did get a good little nap in. But here we are, we've traveled this far and we get to, so our taxi driver has to leave us with someone else from our job. And what happens at that time is they're supposed to take us to our hotel. Okay, so we have someone that's come to pick us up. Well, when we get there to meet this guy, he tells us the car's not big enough. I didn't know you were a family of 5. What? Okay, Mama Bear, first of all, is tired. Mama Bear, second of all, has about 10 bags in the bag. Mama Bear, at that point, has Christian that's just pretty much done with
whining.
Yes, he was young, guys. So Christian,
car sickness.
Yes.
So that was awful.
So Christian at this point is done, and Christian did, as soon as we got to the UK, he just started throwing up. He can't handle the roundabout. So we're dealing with a child that really can't drive
motion sickness.
or can't ride in the UK, which was totally different to us because he'd never experienced that stateside. So then we got over here, every time, I guess going around the roundabouts, yeah, like you said, just made him have motion sickness. So he was sick, so you're stopping and a child's throwing up, or you're finding a bag and a child's throwing up. So anyways, at this point, okay, we all want showers. We just want to be in our hotel. And this man looked at us and he's, oh, I don't have room for you. I'm going to have to call somebody else. So we're standing. So, of course, we have to pay our taxi driver. He's done with us at that point. We're standing outside with our kids and all of our luggage in the rain, waiting on a car. Okay, all right. Mom and Dad put their smile on, breathe through it. So anyways, another car did come. At that point I'm kind of thinking, okay, wait, I'm overseas. I'm an American. Is this place safe? Are they trying to split us up? Is dad supposed to go on one and I'm supposed to take the kids in the other? I didn't necessarily like that idea, but that is how we had to do it. So I got a little bit nervous, even just being a woman and being overseas, and I didn't really know. It was something new. That's all it was. And so we had to split up and drive to our hotel. Okay, so now we're in our hotel, and I remember the biggest thing was jet lag. I really didn't even know jet lag existed, and I didn't know what people were talking about, but still at 4 a.m. for about a solid week, maybe 2 weeks.
It was longer than that.
Yeah, it was for the first little bit.
Yeah.
We were just up. I was sleeping maybe 2 hours a day. Now, I felt pretty energized the next day, but I know that that's kind of wearing on my body because, I don't know, I just don't know that my body knew whether to sleep, whether to be awake. Did you experience that? Yeah, because you were up with me.
Yeah, I was with you talking in the kitchen to Mama at 4 a.m. I'm just like, why are we not asleep?
I know. And watching inappropriate adverts or commercials to us.
I remember it was a TV show though. I don't think it was commercials, but I do remember
this. It's a TV show. Oh my gosh, in our hotel, and I thought, what in the world is UK TV? That was the first time I had ever seen things like this, and I was like, Michaela, close your eyes. 9 p.m., guys, the UK's TV goes very inappropriate, or for this mom's eyes.
I expected the kids to be
I guess your kids aren't supposed to be asleep, but it goes very inappropriate, so I'm like, maybe we'll just not watch TV and we'll turn it off for a little bit. So yeah, me and her was up a lot during the night. And I remember Dad even bouncing off the wall and he's walking back and forth. Anybody else can't sleep? Yeah, we can.
I was passed out. I was in bed. I was like, oh, what you guys are doing?
So you're in a hotel and you don't have a rental car. So at that point, we're thinking, do we walk? How do you get a rental car? So my husband did call someone, like we said, someone was to come from the job and they had picked us up. And he did actually take us to get a rental car, thank goodness. But I was like, please tell me I'm not the one that has to drive that. But Dad did take care of that for the first 2 weeks, because if you watch my other video about driving, I was a little nervous.
She had a curb and busted a tire.
I did. And so I was very, very nervous about driving just because it was the opposite side of the road. At that point, I'm pretty exhausted mentally just from moving and crossing the pond. So I didn't feel like I really wanted to take on something else to even, honestly, to have to think about. So the guy did come and get us and we got a rental car. So then we had to start house shopping and we had to start getting apps, looking at homes. And then something that was totally different to us, I did not realize in the UK, they were allowed to ask. Now, I say this and it's confusing. They're allowed to ask what you make as income. In the States, they do ask you for your details and you have to do credit history if you're gonna buy a house or if you're gonna rent a house. Those are the same. But here they're allowed to ask you because they adjust your rent price. We found a house finally, and that took us about 2 weeks because here's the next thing is you don't really know the neighborhoods. So I'm out trying to just walk neighborhoods or waiting till my husband got home and we're kind of riding around the neighborhoods to just kind of see if they're safe, if we like that area, because we didn't know anything about it. I found this house that we like. They're able to ask what your income is, and we learned that they are allowed to shift the price to the highest end of what you make. And I was totally thrown off by that. It's kind of hard to explain, but the people that had moved out before us was paying $100 less. Now guys, I know you say, how do you know that? But trust me, we do research, we know. And then we started figuring out that's why they're able to ask, because they can go to the highest end they want to out of what you make. So that was a really big thing for us. We just felt really odd about even trying to rent a house at that point. So anyways, guys, we've rented a house and we're in our house. And so then you have to remember our stuff is still not here. So we're in an empty house because we're waiting a month and a half for our things to get here. Well, in the meantime, 2 weeks, we were here about 2 weeks and then Dad left me. And he had to go out of this country to another country. And then I'm here. Not really sure I know how to drive. I have all the kids.
Trying to go to a school event.
Trying to go to school. Well, even then.
Bus.
Yes. even then, me trying to learn about the bus systems, because the little yellow bus doesn't come and pick up kids here.
Charter bus.
It's a charter bus. I was so nervous because I was like, do they know how to drive? I'm putting my kids on here and I'm not even comfortable driving, and they're driving on these small roads and these buses. Are my kids okay on this bus? It's mommy worries, guys. If you're watching this video, you don't have to call me a nuts. Every mommy does it, or this mama does anyways. I mean, I was worried about my kids, and I was worried about putting them on this bus, and honestly, are you just gonna drive off with my kids? I don't know. I mean, I just am an American that has just moved across the pond, so there's a lot of things going through my head at this time. But we did get them situated at school. We were not here 3 days, 4 days? I think we moved to the UK in about 4 days. You had to start school. Yeah, so they hadn't really even had time to adjust to the time change, and school was starting here, and that's something else that's different. Stateside, we start school about August the 17th. Some states are August 27th, somewhere in there, but then school started here for you guys September
the 4th, I think.
So, yeah, September the 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
And so we had crossed over in a good time, but it really didn't give you enough time to acclimate or to get adjusted before, hey, okay, sorry, you got to go to school. Like I had said, Dad did leave me in this process. So then I'm trying to get them situated with school, trying to get Christian situated with school. And then I remember, here comes my household stuff delivered on this truck, and Christian's running around acting crazy. And they're trying to unload my house, and Dad's not here. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I'm a strong woman. I can do this. And I remember them just unpacking my house, trying to put beds together. I stayed up one night, the whole entire night, because I was so excited we finally had beds. And I was trying to put the beds up for the kids so they could finally sleep in a normal bed, and they had school the next day. And yeah, I mean, there's just certain parts. It's a lot when you first come into the UK, especially when my husband decides that he's got to peace out on me. You know, I think he got the easy way, guys. He got to leave, and Mama Bear just fixed it all somewhere in there. I don't know. No, he honestly was my saving grace too. I think we really counted on each other to kind of be strong for one another, just for the kids' sake, because regardless of what we were kind of feeling, we had to put it to the side to be strong for you girls. And just, I remember you were really upset, and we were talking about school, and are you going to know anybody? Well, of course you're not going to know anybody. And how do you think you're going to make friends? And I just remember trying to remind you that, yeah, do you remember us standing outside talking about that?
Standing outside?
We were standing outside.
Waiting on the bus?
No, we were standing outside one evening. Me and you had just walked out because you were nervous, and we walked outside and started talking about it. Oh, she don't even remember. See, that's good. It didn't scar her, guys. But I do remember that me and her had walked outside, and I was like, well, let's just walk outside. And we were talking about, you know, her starting a new school, and it just, I'm sure you felt overwhelmed because you're young teenagers at that point, and you're starting a whole new life, and you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to comfort her that a lot of people go through that change, and regardless, American, British, whatever it is, I think all teenagers kind of feel that way at some point. So I was just trying to comfort her about schooling. Then our next kind of hurdle was, there was so many guys, and I hate to be so all over the place, I'm trying to do it in order. When Christian started school, I knew that I was an American and I was overseas, but I knew this was English people. We spoke the same language, so I didn't feel so far out of place until when Christian came home from school one day, or what they call like a preschool, and he had told me, he's like, Mommy, I hate Americans. And I said, you hate Americans? Son, you're really young, but do you understand that you're an American? And at this point, I kind of knew it's not something he just made up. It's something he had heard at school. And so I asked him, because my concern was that a teacher? And so I asked him, I said, you know, did you hear that from a teacher, or was there another student talking about that with you? Oh, yes, so-and-so, and it was a student's name. And at that moment, I realized I am not at home. If that makes sense. That's a very real moment for me, and especially to share it with you guys. But at that moment, I just kind of felt like, okay, so I did put my mommy self on, and I was like, well, son, you are an American, and we don't hate, whether it's an American or British, that's not something I teach my children. So it's like, son, please don't ever say that again, but please know that you are American, but we don't hate whether, you know, it's American, British, whatever it is. I think at that moment's when I kind of felt out of place and almost out of touch with not the world, but with my surroundings. At that moment,
like you didn't belong in this country when someone told you something negative.
Well, not that. It was just the whole thing. I think it took that moment to just be like, okay, right, we're not at home. Things are different here. And I think I started reevaluating kind of everything, and I started checking on the girls a little bit more of, hey, how are you adapting to your surroundings? How is your world going? And not so much just focus on, because I think honestly when you come in, I had so many things flooding me with trying to, you know, be strong for my kids, all three of them. For just trying to hold it together, from even like I told you guys, from trying to turn on my electricity and my water, which was so abstract to what we do in the States. Just little things like that, and all those little things, even from going to the grocery store and forgetting my bag or not having a bag, and then I have to pay for a bag. Those are minor things.
You're giving bags automatically.
Yes, but it's like one thing happens and then the next thing happens and then, oh wait, the next thing happens. And it's just a lot starts piling up. And now guys, let's get real. I'm not talking honestly about a 5p bag. But when it's this little culture thing or it's this little thing and all of them start kind of adding up, you just have to stop and just kind of, I don't know, take a breath, regroup, and just tell yourself, okay, we can do this.
I think you have to pay for bags because it's such a, like, they're big on recycling.
Yeah, no, now I've lived here and I 100% understand it.
Yeah.
And I don't say it's a bad thing.
Yeah, but I think that's why you have to pay for it, because they want you to bring your own bag so you don't have to pay for it, because this is like, the UK is big on
recycling. Yes, no, and that's 100%, that's a thumbs up. But it's just, I was just doing that as a little comparison of even, guys, I was struggling, if you watched a TikTok I made, I was struggling even to know which side to get in, you know, in my car. And there's a lot of us Americans, trust me, we do it.
I still do it to this day, and I don't even drive.
And we walked to the wrong side of the car. And it was like, okay, I don't even know how to get into my own vehicle. You know, at a certain point, you just get a little bit aggravated, and you're like, all right, this is all common sense stuff. You're just gonna walk to your car. And then I did. I just started looking like really far away which side the steering wheel was popping out on. And I need to go to that way, because if I'd pull into the grocery store, on my way, walking back from, you know, coming out of the store, I would start thinking, no, wait, which side of the car am I supposed to be on? And I know, like, I mean, there's that many things going on in your head, and I just start looking for where I can see the steering wheel popping up at. There's just all kind of little things that start flooding into you. And then even if we go back to when they did unload my stuff, so here we didn't leave anything in storage, and I know some Americans do, but we didn't. We brought everything, and that stuff didn't fit. We had our bedroom was like this big.
I think American stuff is meant to be bigger.
It is.
Because the houses are slightly bigger. Like, I feel like if you come here to the UK, everything's almost smaller.
It is.
Like the roads, the houses, compared to the UK where we have these, America, where we have these massive trucks and like everything. So it takes time to adapt when you have downgrade a lot.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily downgrading, it just goes smaller. And then I have all this American furniture, and I remember I'm like, just put it wherever you want to. I don't even care. You can take it and throw it away at this point. I don't know, just leave our beds. But it's a lot of kind of culture things that come into play. So when you first come into the UK, some Americans, I don't know if all of them do, but we did. We had to do a briefing for things like driving, and then another one is just an introduction to the UK as an American living here. And they can try to scare you in those briefings. I am a mom, and knowing that my husband's going to leave in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be at a strange house on top of that, a strange community, and I have just sat through this briefing, and this briefing talks about travelers. And I guess travelers are just people who can come into your home and you can't do anything about it. I just felt very concerned about that. Now guys, I've lived in the UK for a little bit. it's fine, it's safe here. But when I first came over, I was a little alarmed when they started telling me all these things that could take place, because the police officers are the ones that actually come in and they do these briefings to kind of tell you, you know, just about the local area and things that you can experience. And I remember one of the girls in there talking about, because she was in a briefing, she was an American too, and she's like, where I'm from in Texas, we shoot those people you walk in our house. And I was like, oh, okay. Conversation in this meeting had got just way out of hand, and I'm thinking, shooting people? Wait, there's no guns allowed in the UK. I can't defend my house. Wait, my husband's leaving. A lot of those things were overwhelming, especially, and I had 3 smaller kids because the girls was younger, Christian was younger, and I knew that he was, you know, not going to be there with us. So some of those things set in, and I was just like, oh my gosh, so is the area bad? Do I need to like look out for anytime I'm at a grocery store? Guys, I'm not joking. The police officers kind of scare Americans when we first come in. I don't even know why, because the UK is so safe. But then, so my husband does leave for 2 weeks, and the whole time I'm thinking, is somebody gonna come in my house? So anyways, guys, I had made friends with my neighbors, and they were British, and I started asking these questions, and they're like, no, nobody's ever came in our house or anything. So I started to relax a little more. But those are just different things that we experience when we come over here, and people are telling us about the culture. Now, I didn't tell these girls because I didn't want to scare them about travelers or anything they needed to be worried about. There was just some things they told us as Americans we were allowed to do in this country, and things that we were not allowed to do, and we had to go over those rules. But as far as telling them the other parts that they really couldn't do nothing about, I didn't try to do that with them. Whenever you're out walking around, you're hearing a different accent. Your mind is actually
English.
It is.
At least it's not, we don't having to take classes to learn some other language
yeah,
to fit in.
Like Japanese or move to Japan.
At least it's just with an accent, so it's not that hard.
It is. And one time when I took Christian to school, I remember like when I first took him, I'm sitting around and I'm like, okay, this is a lot of different accents. Okay, it's a lot of different culture. Your mind is honestly taking all that in. But then I try to remind myself, wait, we're all mommies. At the end of the day, we're all gonna miss our kids, maybe, whenever we drop them off for the day. I mean, we're all going through the same mommy thing no matter where we're living. So I try to relate as the UK, as we're all people. We all go through the same stuff, even though we may speak a little different, have different cultures. At the end of the day, it's pretty much kind of still all the same thing. And that definitely helped me when I started having a kind of a different outlook on it. But guys, when we first came here, the UK was tricky. When we come here, it was gloomy, but then it went beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it went beautiful for like a solid month. And I was like, people are such liars. I remember saying that, and I was like, they lied about the weather. It's absolutely gorgeous here. And
we moved in an awkward time too. So it was
moved in September.
Getting to where it was like still summerish, mm-hmm. but then they got into like their winterish, and then and then it just went bonkers.
Oh, then after about a month, guys, I seen what they meant about the UK's weather.
It was cold, it's like cold.
And it wasn't even, I can handle the cold if it wasn't so much cold and rain. And then you add the wind on top of it. And it was just like
miserable.
It is miserable, and it's constant. And we had to walk to the bus stop. Everything we started doing at that point, because I wasn't 100% comfortable with driving, was a lot of walking. I was skinnier then. And I should be doing more walking as we speak. But okay, I'm sorry.
Plus like the buses and stuff were cold and like just everywhere.
Okay, so the next thing is so the girls decide, hey, I want to go shopping.
I thought it would be cool. It would be fun.
Yes, and so we're trying to find a mall.
But we tried to mall and it didn't pop up.
No, there's no such thing as malls in the UK. It's shopping centers. Now we absolutely adore these shopping centers.
Probably the best ones yet.
Yes, but at first, guys, I'm not even gonna lie, we did not like it. And we come from, just all these extravagant malls, Targets, Walmart. I remember the first time I walked in Asda, and it has the little sign that is
Save money, live better.
So, yes, and that's the Walmart sign. I was like, okay, a little piece of America is here. No. No. Whenever we went into Asda, I was just hoping that was going to be a little park.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is where it's going to make sense. There's just going to be all this stuff, and we're going to go look into it. Okay, I was so excited about this trip, and I was like, everybody's comparing it to Walmart. They say this is the UK's Walmart, and it just wasn't. Okay, here's another moment Michelle came to. At that moment, I realized I can either stop comparing America to the UK, which I did, done. And I can accept the UK for what it is, and I can start finding the great points about the UK, or I'm going to be absolutely miserable not because the UK is bad, guys, you know I love the UK, but because if I keep comparing, oh, America's better because of this, or this is what I'm used to, not even necessarily better, but I'm used to this is what I'm accustomed to. And I knew if I kept comparing those things, even from something as simple as the grocery store, it just wasn't going to work out in my favor. So then I started thinking, but wait, the UK has a lot of farmers markets that I adore. And I thought, but wait, the UK does have smaller lines, which I like. But wait, the UK, and so I started having that mindset, which telling me, you know, that I try to be a very positive person. It really doesn't matter how negative it could be. I usually can't stay in that place too long. I've instantly got to flip it to let's try to be positive, and I teach my kids that too. It's just a healthier lifestyle, guys. I'm not a complainer. I honestly don't like to hear other people complain either. I'm not big on that. So my kind of motto is, if you don't like it, change it. Well, the things I didn't like about the UK, I couldn't necessarily change. It just doesn't work that way. But I knew I could change my mindset to stop comparing it to America and just accept it for what it is. Things are a little bit smaller here. Things are a little bit slower paced here. And I actually learned to love that about the UK. I love that some things close at 5 o'clock and I'm at home with my family.
Because back in the States, everything stays open until like 10 or 11, even the malls. But then here it's like, oh, 5 o'clock.
It's time to go home.
Yeah.
And I've learned to love that. It's just getting used to things here.
It closes super early.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have to get up super early just to do it. To be,
Yeah, and I remember even from going like to restaurants, and the menu looks totally different, but then I started to learn to love that too. I just started asking questions. Well, hey, what is this? Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to try that. And a lot of things I started loving here, but I think it's just, as an American, you come over and you instantly, that's one of our biggest downfalls. We want to compare it. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with comparing that. I still do it in videos for you guys. But as far as living, you can't necessarily mindset compare on a daily basis, or you kind of get stuck in a place that's not really good.
Because it's nothing like America. Like the UK is nothing like America, so they have their ups and they have their downs.
Yeah, both places have ups, both places have downs, and you just have to you have to just kind of learn to love it through those things. And back to, I know we keep jumping back and forth a lot, but let's even go back to our house. I had a really big problem at first, so we come over here and it's warm, but then it got cold on us and I could not get our house warm. I could not understand how to heat a UK house at an affordable rate. That about drove me nuts, guys. Me walking around in a onesie and a blanket and keeping my lights off 24/7. If you've watched one of our recent videos, we talk about our first energy bill was like 600 pounds. And I just knew we came in with more of an American mindset, and we were trying to quickly heat and just do things that we just can't do in the economy here. So when we started adjusting those things, and then our Wi-Fi, all 5 of us trying to be on Wi-Fi.
Fast at all.
No, guys. And the thing is if you have fiber in certain areas or faster internet service, those places are great. But everywhere we moved seemed to not have it, or like half our neighborhood would, and then ours wouldn't, because they said people would dig it up and steal the copper, so they wouldn't put fiber in certain areas. That's where we lived. So we came from America that's used to fast. Yeah, so I remember just even our Netflix would sit there and just spin forever. And then at one point we would just turn the TV off because we couldn't even watch TV. You couldn't even get on YouTube to stream. Absolutely not. So
it still does that sometimes now. Like I'd be
it
at
does.
home and it just circles and it's like your TV show cannot be loaded at this time. And you just have to go and just click it and click it and click it until it's finally just be like, okay, you can watch Netflix now. It's really frustrating.
And at the time, my sister and I had phones, but like we didn't even get 4G like at our house. Like our phone service was really bad. Like everywhere we lived was like just really bad. So we had to rely on Wi-Fi. So it's like either way, we still couldn't use any type of electronics everywhere we lived.
Yeah.
Because of everything.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, guys, it was just coming in and getting used to everything that's different. Now we take it pretty much with a grain of salt.
But let's see if the Wi-Fi ain't working.
Yeah, that's just like
It'll
something.
work tomorrow. It'll work later tonight.
Something we commonly say now. Wi-Fi ain't working.
Who's on the Wi-Fi?
Who's on the Wi-Fi?
We always like, who's on the Wi-Fi? Turn it off.
No, guys. So now it's just running jokes in our house for certain things. We don't mind them so much. But when you first come over, everything is just kind of overwhelming. All right, guys. You know, I never try to talk too long in these videos because I could sit here and just talk to you for hours. But hope you liked the video. I didn't give you a whole lot of details. Sometimes I don't like to do that. I like to just talk to you like you guys are my best friends. Because I think everybody is my best friend. But guys, if you want me to go in more detail, I don't mind. You know I love for you to comment. So comment below. Tell me what I missed out. Tell me what I have forgotten. And I guess I'll see you in the next.
Bye.